This is Resolute and Man Talk. I'm Vince Miller, your founder and host. Good to be with you today. We're in a series entitled 30 Virtues That Build a Man. Today we're discussing the topic of receptivity and the discipline of active listening. Gentlemen, if this is your first time tuning in, well, thank you for joining us. Here at Man Talk, we discuss topics that are relevant to Christian men. So never forget, if you're looking for content for a men's ministry, a men's group, or even one-on-one material for you and another guy, you got to go to our website today, which is beresolute.org. Today we're going to be discussing the book 30 Virtues That Build a Man.
You can
find, I know it's great stuff, man, and you can find it all at beresolute.org/30, THIRTY, beresolute.org/30. Today I got John Cook with me today. I'm so happy you're with us, John. Thanks for being here.
I'm pumped to be here. This is great.
Yeah, so John is a good friend. He actually launched a little product not too long ago. It's called The Holy Dose, just devotionals for men and women.
Yeah, I was sick of doing nothing. I mean, I do my full-time job, still do that, but I just wanted to do something a little extra on the side to kind of push me out of my comfort zone. So I started writing 250 words a day just on my Google Doc. Nobody could see it. And I did it for 100 days. And then from there, I was like, I got to do something with this stuff. So I started to create graphics in Photoshop and create the devotionals through the Instagram page.
Yeah,
so,
I love that. And it captured my attention because it was very creative and very thought-provoking and create a lot of dialogue. I saw you creating a lot of dialogue, but not only that, I found it to be spiritually uplifting. So we're hosting some of your Devos through the Men's Daily Devo online now. So thanks for doing that. It's been fun. John, I personally think, I really think that men are not as receptive to truth as they think we are. We're not as good at listening as we think we are.
That's the truth. Yeah.
And I think in our own minds, we're like legends in how we listen to other people. At least I'm a legend in my own mind.
It's like the Walter Mitty thing, you know?
Exactly. But, we're just not that great at listening. And I don't know about you, but I struggle in this area. I struggle at work, in my marriage, even to receive truth from other men about who I am. I don't know. Do you find that to be true about yourself?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a constant machine gun of advice coming at us all day long. So in a way, I'm not receptive. Yeah, I would say I'm not receptive, but almost because I'm protective.
Yeah, we're kind of protective of the ego, of the self. It can be very challenging. A couple of years ago now, I was well into my marriage. You'll really appreciate the story. And my wife, we were arguing, all right? So imagine that. And we have arguments in our home, and they can get pretty heated at times. And I have an opinion, my wife has an opinion, we go after each other. And right in the middle of this argument, my wife makes a character assassination.
Ouch, yeah, those hurt.
Yeah, it's not always fair, to be honest. And I love my wife, but she made this character assassination. And I was growing tired of arguing with her.
Yep.
And I said 4 words that changed my life.
I would like to know those words.
Okay. So here's what I said this to her, and everybody out there will appreciate this, but hear it in the right context. I said to her, "You may be right."
That's genius. I've never used those words.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was just exhausted, right? I was exhausted from arguing. And I just was like, "Well, you may be right." And she turned like white as a ghost. I mean, she's already white to begin with, and so, but she just turned white as a ghost, and she stopped and she was speechless. She didn't know what to do with it. And I was like, "Ooh, nice tactic," And but right after I got over the nice tactic piece, I realized what was happening now was I was really listening to her genuinely for the very first time. And not only did I disarm her, but I disarmed my desire to be combatant with her and to resist.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going at with this?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And I mean, it gives you some time to process what just happened because it takes the emotion out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I need to be really clear about what I didn't say to her. I didn't say to her, "You are right." That's a very different words, right?
Yeah.
But I said, "You may be right," and it did something to me. And I mean, honestly, guys, it's changed how I listen to people completely.
We could stop the podcast right now.
Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah, but there's so much more to be said about this because I think what I learned through it is I'm not as good of a listener as I think. I mean, I don't know, I can't remember how many years I was into my marriage, but I was in more than a decade. And I came to discover that, I'm not really good at listening in certain moments, right? Especially when I'm being attacked, right? Even if it is partially true, I'm not as great at listening as I think I am.
Yeah, I'm not good at listening either. I mean, what I always tell my wife is, she calls it my advice monster. I have to tame my advice monster because it just comes out and it just wants to talk and solve and fix and just gab. And she has the personality where she just kind of backs down, listens, processes, almost shuts down, and I'll just stop talking thinking I'm going to solve this thing. And I end up digging myself into a bigger hole.
Wow, that's good. We have all these other voices, right, going on. Of course, when I was referencing the video for the week, because, we post a video every week that goes with each one of these lessons that we've taken from this study. But when I was referencing the lesson for the week, clearly the text from this particular lesson in 30 Virtues That Build a Man is Luke 8. Jesus is talking about the parable of the soils, right? And he's comparing the soils to how we listen, not just with our ears, but with our heart. So he says there's these three kinds of soils, and I reference this in the video. The first type of soil is the path, right? And then the second type of soil is the rocky soil. And the third type of soil is the type of soil that's receptive, but there's thorns that choke out life. And there's a fourth soil that's extremely receptive. What's interesting about it is I think that as Jesus speaks in dialogues to the world about how we listen, he's saying, you can listen with your ears, but there's another way to listen. It's a way to listen with your heart, to really absorb not only what you're hearing, but to absorb it into your being so that your heart becomes receptive. And I can actively listen and deploy tactics, but it's a deeper thing to really listen with the human heart.
So how do you do that? How do you listen so that you can actually not just receive, but retain whatever that is?
Man, I don't know what the answer to that is. I sometimes, I think that when people speak truth to me, I resist it almost immediately. Here's an illustration from my life. So a couple of months ago, I had a guy who spoke truth to me, and it was inside of a group context, kind of like, meeting with a group of guys. And this guy says to me, he says, John, he says to Vince, he said, I don't think you get it. And he pointed at me and he really laid into me. And it wasn't...
But when the finger comes out, it hurts.
Dude, yeah, he was pointing and he says, but you keep saying this and you keep saying this and you keep saying this. And he says, I don't think you get it. And, he's kind of making a point, and it wasn't a personal attack. It was a way I was seeing a business situation. And I approached it by just saying, tell me more. And I was trying to open my heart up, but in that moment, I was really resistant to actually listening to him.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, you get where I'm going.
The shield is up.
The shield is up. But over about a week and another week and another week, I started to absorb it in more and more and more. And I suddenly discovered that he was right, which it took me so long to discover he was right. I met with him last week. And it was very emotional for me because I went back and I said, John, his name is John, just like you. I said, John, you are 100% right about this thing, and I wanted to tell you that. And I want to tell you what I've learned over the last couple of months because you spoke this truth to me.
Man, that must have made him feel good. I mean,
yeah. He was pretty pumped about it. But I want you to hear how long it took me, right, to burst through that wall of unreceptivity.
Like, why does it take us so long?
I don't know. Why does it take you so long to listen to your wife when she speaks truth, or someone at your place of business who's telling you to do things a different way than you want to do it? Why do you think?
I think my past bosses, it's driven them crazy that they'll tell me something over and over and over again, but until I read it in a book, I don't believe it. They're like looking at me, okay, you just figured that out, and I've been telling you that for I don't know, a year or something like that. And it just happens to me over and over and over. And with my wife, it will take months before I'll listen to her and say, okay, I'm actually going to get to the gym, and work out.
Yeah,
She really challenges me to do, because she knows I'm a different person if I'm working out.
Yeah, because she sees what's good for you,
Yeah.
but you can't see what's good for yourself sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a sense of resistance, I think, that we really truly have to truth. We think we listen. We could deploy tactics of listening. I mean, here's some tactics of listening. For example, we can have a sense of curiosity about another person. That increases our level of listening. Or we can look someone in the eyes, like you and I are looking each other in the eyes right now, and pay more attention. Or we can put away the devices, like the phones in our pockets, and not set them on the table, so they're constantly distracting. We can deploy all these tactics, but I think all those do is help us to develop the muscle of listening, so that we can really listen, right? There's one thing, I think Jesus is right. It's one thing to listen with our ears. It's another thing to really listen with our heart.
Yeah, to be fully present, fully engaged, like embracing what's actually being said in that moment, and not just thinking of what's going to be said next.
Yeah. Is there something that you do in your life to kind of to break through that wall of resistance, to listen better?
Sometimes I just need to take a break. Like, we get so much information thrown at us all day long. I just don't even know how we can be listening all the time. So a lot of times I do have my shield up because I can't take it all in. But when I really do want to listen, I just think I need to, hear what my wife has to say, and then go for a run or go do something, go in the workshop or do something with my hands. But I think there's a point at which we just need to stop talking and start doing. You know what I mean? Like, we just talk and talk and talk as if it's actually accomplishing something.
Yeah.
And I just need to take a break, process it like you did. I mean, it took you 2 to 4 weeks.
Right.
And sometimes it takes me some time as well. And I think that's okay, because it's kind of sinking into the soil, getting deeper and deeper, so that you can actually retain what you received, because like in the parable, I believe it says that there's a one who received it with joy, but then, all of a sudden it got choked out, But if you receive it with joy and then retain it, and do it,
right,
then, I mean, it's going to be there.
Yeah, it's
going
to produce, like, yield an incredible amount of produce. I think about that all the time too. So, I think about a man's receptivity to truth isn't as strong as he thinks he is. There's clearly 3 types of soil that were less receptive to truth, but then there's one that produces all the fruit. And I think that's the joy of the whole thing, is the more receptive we are, not just to actively listening, but to really hearing someone on the other side, it has the ability to produce fruit in our life. Let's apply it to a business context for a second. So I have some friends who are in sales, for example, and inside sales, outside sales. They sell products, they sell services, and every one of them has told me a fail-safe question for really discovering the truth about their product or service is to go to their customers that use the product and ask them this one question, which I think changes everything to how we listen. What do you need to tell me about my product that I don't want to hear?
Oh, that's good.
Tell me what I don't want to hear. And I love it when people ask that question, because I think it's a transformative question. I mean, we just asked it of each other just a little while ago, right? Remember that? We were dialoguing about this. And I think just opening ourselves up to hearing what we don't want to hear is very transformative to us. And that's actually what builds the muscle, I think, of receptivity. And we need more of this in our life as men. I mean, it's how we grow faster and more fertile in our life to the truth, is by asking people the questions that we don't want to hear the answers to.
Yeah, if we feel the resistance inside of us, I mean, I would probably feel some measure of resistance if my customer came to me and told me how bad my product was, or my wife comes to me and says, this is how bad your character is right now. But it's funny how those things of resistance are the areas that produce the most change and help us be more successful with our business product, or in our marriage, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. So, I mean, we've given guys a couple of really sweet tools today, I think. First one is, you may be right. Those 4 words changed my marriage, gentlemen. John, I've been telling you guys, use it. The other one is, tell me what I don't want to hear. And I would challenge every guy out there to go ask his wife or his kids or his business partner or his supervisor. I dare you to go ask someone this week, tell me what I don't want to hear about me.
It'd be life-changing.
Oh, I think, and then if we listen to it,
Yeah.
and actually did something with it, and we're just damaged personally by it, but said, man, this is someone outside of me speaking the truth to me about who I am. Man, just think about the fruit that would produce there. I mean, Jesus says it will produce fruit. If you become receptive to the truth, it will produce fruit. And of course, I think Jesus is not just talking about advice from other people or a wife or kids or an employer. He's talking about the truth that's in God's word, right? And that's what he really wants us to be receptive to.
Absolutely.
Here, so.
I mean, tell me the last time you were uncomfortable, which the word of God makes us uncomfortable sometimes, and I'll tell you the last time you grew.
Yeah, exactly. Well, John, I just want to thank you so much for being with us today. Guys, don't go life alone. Like John and I are modeling it right here. Don't go life alone. I went without a mentor for a long time in my life. We created a resource right here that you can invite someone else into a mentoring conversation. John, you're using this with a small group right now, right?
Yep, using it in a small group. We actually just went over receptivity last night, and I tell you what, this book right here, The 30 Virtues, it just helped us walk through it systematically, and we all walked out of there, I would say, buzzing, like we were alive. I actually wrote down probably 3 or 4 quotes last night that just came in conversation, because I can go through this book and do the exercise by myself and maybe get something out of it. But when Seer from Africa, who has an entire different worldview than I do, says it in a certain way, it's a new thing for me. Or, Jeff from his job and his corporate and his upbringing, and then Caleb, but they all had different stories and different ways that they kind of heard what we read. And it was just, I don't know, it was just amazing to hear their insights. So I just love being there, engaged in the conversations with other guys, because it helps me really, I think, really stew on the truth and get it stirring inside me.
Yeah, it gets it moving inside your heart and even deeper than just on your own. So guys, definitely go to our website today, pick up a copy of 30 Virtues That Build a Man. And I would encourage you to buy one for you and another brother and invite them into a mentoring conversation so that you can grow in your relationship with Christ. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. We hope that you'll join with us again next week for another edition of Man Talk by Resolute.
Thanks for having me, Vince.
You bet.